far as we know, no one's ever addressed the United States Congress in a sweatshirt before. They love him much more than they love you. American taxpayers declare Joe Biden will continue to give Zelensky whatever he demands for, quote, as long as it takes. Zelensky is demanding regime change in Russia, just like in Iraq and Libya and a long list of other failed states, except this time in the heart of the Eurasian landmass next door to the entire civilized world. The point was to fawn over the Ukrainian strip club manager and hand him billions more dollars from our own crumbling economy. That Zelensky has banned an entire ancient Christian denomination in Ukraine and then seized churches and then thrown priests into jail. According to Mitch McConnell, who apparently hasn't left his office since the mid-'80s, anti-Christian despotism is what most Republicans want above all. Punishing Vladimir Putin for putting Donald Trump in office is more important than all of that, says Mitch McConnell. Ukraine's borders matter. Ours don't matter.
So that's Tucker Carlson attacking Zelensky in I guess the favored way on the right is to attack his clothing because he's not fancy enough. As if he were to come in a fancy suit, they wouldn't attack him for being fancy while his people are dying. Also, I wanted to play the particular clip to remind you that his show is awful in a lot of ways in terms of the dishonesty, the white supremacy and all that, but it's also deeply weird. They love him more than they love you. That is a deeply weird way to communicate to a news audience. Yeah, I like that the only argument they seem to come up with that they think might be effective to stop the foreign aid is we should be spending it here instead. But like they definitely don't believe that. So can we raise the wages? Could we get paid leave? Could we get literally anything? Student debt cancellation, you want to spend on dealing with climate crisis? No, you don't want to spend on any of that stuff. But they love him more than they love you. Here's more of Tucker Carlson.
Somehow we were reminded of it today when the president of Ukraine arrived at the White House dressed like the manager of a strip club and started to demand money. Amazingly, no one threw him out. Instead, they did whatever he wanted. Zelensky is demanding regime change in Russia, just like in Iraq and Libya and a long list of other failed states, except this time in the heart of the Eurasian landmass next door to the entire civilized world. That's what Zelensky has called for repeatedly, and every dollar we send to him goes toward that end. And at this point, he's getting a lot closer to achieving it. So what happens if he, quote, wins? What does the ensuing chaos look like? Thought about that? Who's going to secure the world's largest nuclear arsenal once we help Zelensky topple the Russian government? Who replaces Putin? Strangely, those topics did not come up today because that wasn't the point.
Thank you for landing on that. No, none of any of that is the point. What are you talking about, you madman? There's a couple of things that we have to correct there. First of all, again, the focus on the clothing, super weird, incredibly weird that you think that would be an effective thing. And also Tucker Carlson is a populist. He hates the elites, but also if you don't dress as fancy as him, you're trash and no one should listen to you. Weird. Anyway, so Zelensky went there and they gave him everything he wants, except no, not at all. They didn't give him nearly as much money. He would want far more money. He would want direct transfer of US jets. He would want long-range missiles. He would want many things that he is literally asking for and being denied. So 100% untrue. And while Zelensky, I'm sure, has said that Putin should be toppled, the idea that that's what every dollar we give goes towards that goal. Oh, and also he's close to it. I must have missed the news of Ukrainian forces streaming across the border and besieging Moscow. But if you're a viewer of Tucker Carlson, you believe that Ukraine has the upper hand and they're about to defeat Russia. All of it is madness. All of it is lies. We can disagree about the funding, how much it is, where it goes, whether we should be involved, what the timeline and how diplomacy should be done. What we can't have a debate about is bald-faced lies about literally every part of this conflict. The way that he seems dead set on lying about literally every element of this story seems like a problem. He's the single, most popular, most followed pundit on cable news, and he refuses to ever once speak in anything even adjacent to an honest fashion about this. As you started to get into, there are a lot of interesting conversations we can have about the amount of funding that's being sent. I definitely think about what that funding is going to be spent on. I think there are far better things that we could be putting that money towards than the Patriot, anti-missile system. We'll see how it performs in the field, but I think that there are other ways that we could help them that would be better. But Tucker Carlson is not having that conversation. Tucker Carlson obviously does not want Russia to be hurt in any way. That is what is screaming from him, and so he has to lie that this is about punishing Putin for putting Trump into office, couldn't it just be about punishing him for invading and trying to occupy another country? Like, I feel like that's the more proximal issue here. Tucker Carlson will never acknowledge that. He cannot simply say, Russia has invaded, they've killed a bunch of people, there have been war crimes, they have moved massive amounts of people outside of Ukraine and into Russia, there's been mass rapes and mass killings. That said, it's not our war and we shouldn't spend money on it. He can't say that. He will never acknowledge the things that Russia is doing. And he doesn't feel any need to hide how much he openly despises Zelensky. He doesn't just disagree with what Zelensky wants. He hates Zelensky every bit as much as you or I might hate Donald Trump or Vladimir Putin. I don't know why. I don't know what would lead a person to have that vitriol towards a guy who's just trying to keep his country together, but it is very clear on Tucker's face.